I thought tonight I might talk on the subject of love. Love is one word I seldom use, mainly because it's so misunderstood. And I also believe that through this method of growing, or only through growth, do we understand what love is. That by defining it, we just add some more words to the usual words, and it doesn't really convey the meaning of the word love. But love is an absolutely necessary ingredient on the path. If we ever expect to get full realization, we must increase our love until it is complete. Now, the love I talk about, of course, has nothing to do with sex. Sex is a body gratification. However, we have confused it, most of us, very much, with love. And the majority of us still tie it in with love. Although, when you see what sex is and what love is, you'll see that's two different things. They can be tied together, and they don't have to be. The love that we talk about here is the love of Jesus Christ. It's the love complete, which expressed in the extreme is love thy enemy. I think the best definition of the word, as it seems to me, is love is a feelingness of givingness with no expectation of receiving for the giving. It's a very free giving. And it's an attitude that is constant. Love doesn't vary, at least the type of love we're talking about. The amount we have, we apply to everyone. We love our family as much as we love strangers. This might sound odd, but this is the truth. To the degree we're capable of loving strangers, to that degree we're capable of loving our family. The concept of possession is just the opposite of the meaning of love. In love, there is never a holding on to, a fencing in, or anything like that. Love has a sense of freeing the ones we love. When we are giving an attitude, we want the other one to have what the other one wants. I guess the best example of this type of love is the love of a mother for a child, and sometimes a father. A mother will sacrifice and give everything to the child without considering herself. There are many other definitions for love. I'm just trying to think what they are. I think acceptance is a good word. When we love people, we accept them the way they are. If we love this world, we accept the world the way it is. We don't try to change it. We let it be. We grant the world its beingness the same way we should grant every other person his or her beingness. Let them be the way they want to be. Never try to change them. Trying to change them is injecting our own ego. We want them to be the way we would like them to be. So love is a feeling, first of all, of oneness with, of identity with the other one or all other ones. When there is a full love, you feel yourself as the other person. Treating the other person is just like treating your very own self. There's complete identity. Love is not only a feeling, love is a tremendous power, which is so little understood in the world today. We have an example of this type of love being expressed today by Martin Luther King. No matter how much he's attacked, he will give out nothing but love to his attacker. He teaches nonviolence. Now, the biggest demonstration of this type of love was Mahatma Gandhi's winning a war against Britain without any arms. Through teaching, the British are our brothers, we love the British. Non-resistance to the British and to the British soldiers. Only love for them. Gandhi understood this and was able to win over enough followers in India to make this effective. The power behind love, without question, is far more powerful than the hydrogen bomb once you see what love is. Love is the most powerful force in the universe. When we express love as love is, not as we have been taught to think what love is. It is said sometimes that God is love. And I say one with God is a majority. One individual with nothing but love can stand up against the entire world because this love is so powerful. Which I think leads us somewhat into seeing that this love is nothing but the self with a capital S that we speak of. This love is God. God is love. God is all powerful. So there's some authority for what I'm saying besides my saying it. Love will give not only all the power in the universe, it will give all the joy and all the knowledge. All right, now how to make this practical? The best way of increasing our capacity to love is through wisdom, understanding. However, we can do things in our everyday life that will raise our level of love. The first place to practice love is at home, with the family. We should try to love our family more and more and more. I think everyone knows the wonderful experience of love, of loving one person. So you can imagine what it's like if you loved 3 billion people. It'd be 3 billion times more enjoyable. So home is the first place to keep trying to increase our love for the ones around us by granting them their beingness. That's the most difficult thing, I believe, to do in a family, to grant the other one's beingness, especially if the other one is a child. But every child is a whole, complete, infinite individual. Next, after loving the ones in our home, we should try to love our neighbors. Then our larger group, our state, our country. Then we should try to love all people all over the world.
Russians?
Even Russians. And I heard Oral Roberts say something on that some Sundays ago. He said, people ask, what would Jesus be like if he came back today? And he said he wouldn't be the way people expect. He wouldn't have anything against anyone. He would not hate the communists. He would talk against doing wrong, doing evil. But he would never say anything against any human being. I believe that if we understood the power of love, and that if the majority of Americans loved the Russians, Russia would be conquered by the Americans without any arms. And after we learn to love all the people in this world, there are many more people outside of this world. I think loving all the people in this world would allow us to meet with our brothers and sisters of other worlds. Because in this universe there are many, many mansions, many, many places of abode. And because of our incapacity to love on this planet, we have cut them off. So to come back to the point of being practical, the more we practice love, the more we love, and the more we love, the more we can practice love. The more we develop love, the more we come in touch with the harmony of the universe. The more delightful our life becomes, the more bountiful, the more everything. It starts a cycle going where you spin upwards, this loving and receiving. That's another thing If we want to be loved, the way to do it is to love. It's not only the very best method, but it's, I think, the only method of receiving love is to love, because what we give out must come back. But looking for love without loving does not bring love to us, does not satisfy us. The happy one is the one loving, the one giving. Blessed is the giver, because he's so much happier if he gives from his heart. Are there any questions on this concept of love?
You made a statement, you don't love someone more, you hate the other person less. The book, I think there's a paragraph. You don't love more, you...
There's one back there, but
I don't recall how it's worded.
these red ones are fine.
I think before that, though, I'd like to remind me of another point. When we say we love one person more than another, if we will trace it through by going inwardly, we will find that the one that we love more is a person whom we think we need, that has something that we would like to have, and therefore we say we love that person more. Actually, love cannot be chopped up. If you want to test your own love, look at your enemies. This is the real test. Or if you don't want to go that far, look at strangers. Examine your attitude towards strangers. It should be one of, well, they are me. They are my family. Every mother should be our mother. Every father should be our father. Every child should be our child. This is the attitude we achieve through understanding. This is the real sense of the word love.
Lester, it seems like to me you're talking about love is giving of yourself and so forth, and yet I guess the conflict that I have occasionally is that it seems like that as you give of yourself, that people tend to take more and more, and eventually it seems like they can, if you don't, in effect, I might say, put a stop to it, they bleed you dry emotionally, mentally, financially, and they use you as a crutch.
Well, I say no, that's impossible if we feel the real love. And I'm turning right back around the other way. If we have the correct attitude of love, that doesn't happen. Now, what you're saying I hear very often.
But don't you think that people, there's something about, I don't know, the impression I get is that love is a sign to other people in a way of weakness perhaps, and there's a loss, it seems like there's a loss of respect, and I just wonder how you can give and yet keep the respect.
The givingness is not in things, number one.
Right.
The givingness is an attitude. We can always maintain an attitude of love. Now, most people who give are not giving lovingly. They're giving because of the credit they will get for giving. Look at me, I'm doing good. Or I get my name in the paper, or something like that. You see, that type of love will get us into trouble. People will drain us on that. Because we're looking
For something in return.
and we're looking to put ourselves up in the process, and therefore they'll pull us down.
Don't you think, though, it's easier to love somebody 5,000 miles away than somebody next door to you?
The easiest thing in the universe to do is to love everyone. This is what I think. This is what I've discovered. Once we learn what love is, that's the easiest thing to do. It takes effort and agony not to love. It takes tremendous effort not to love everyone. And you see the effort being expended every day. But when we love, we're at one with them, we're at peace, and everything falls into line beautifully. Well, the main thing is to see love in the sense that I'm trying to define it. Then those things don't happen. But when we love in the sense that humanity understands the word to mean, then you're right. But I don't call that love.
What do you call? What do you?
Selfishness, actually. We are doing things to help ourselves. And yet in the high love, in the spiritual love, there's no self-abnegation. We don't have to hurt ourselves when we love everyone, and we don't. You see, in love there's a feeling of mutuality. That which is mutual is correct. If you love, you hold to that law. And therefore people won't take advantage of you. If you're loving, you're applying the most powerful force in the universe. But it's the love of a Jesus I'm talking about. Practically speaking, if someone is trying to hurt you, and you just feel love for that person, and if that person continues, you'll see them hurt themselves. If they continue further, they'll almost destroy themselves. They'll just knock themselves out. They won't be able to oppose you anymore. But we have to practice this love that I'm speaking of, not the love as we have known it.
To love in the way you're saying, it isn't something that you say, I'm going to do, I'm going to love, or I'm going to apply this tool and love this person so much he's going to kill himself.
No, that would be love.
It's a basic attitude. It's nothing you physically or even mentally do. It's just a concept.
It's a constant attitude.
Actually,
It's a constant attitude that evolves in us when we try to develop it. However, we should try practicing the love, as I said before, first on our family. Grant everyone in the family their own beingness, if you can. If you can't, keep trying until you can. Then apply it to friends, then strangers, then everyone. See, by doing this, you will develop it. Although, as you say, it isn't something you can turn on just like that.
It's just like beingness. Well, in a way, it's all we do have it. All of us have it, but it's just layered over by many.
It's smothered
attitudes
by wrong attitudes. Now, this love I talk about is our basic nature. It's a natural thing. That's why it's so easy. The opposite takes effort. We move away from our natural self. Cover it, smother it with concepts of the opposite of love. And then, because we're not loving, unloving comes back at us and proves to us the concepts like Paul brought out, which we all experience when we first start practicing this love. You're not alone, Paul.
Isn't love almost like a selfishness? Because when you love somebody, it's such a wonderful feeling for you.
Well, this is a matter of semantics that I don't want to get involved in. The way you put it, yes, but not in a general sense.
I know when I love somebody, I feel so good.
It's true after you discover what love is. It's the greatest thing in the universe. It's a thing that everyone wants, only because it's his basic nature in the first place. Every human being is basically an extremely loving individual.
Does it come down to this thing of pleasure? I mean, is it the same type of thing where your mind becomes still in one avenue of thought, of concentration, of acceptance of the other person, therefore the mind is stilled, and your true nature then comes through, which is the love,
Yes.
the feeling of love.
The more we love, the less we have to think. If I'm not loving you, I have to be on guard. I have to protect myself. If I'm not loving the world, I'm always protecting myself from the world, which causes more and more and more thoughts. Puts me extremely on the defensive, and subconsciously it builds up year in and year out. And then I'm a mass of thoughts protecting myself from the world, see. Now, if I love the world can't hurt me. My thoughts get quiet. The mind gets peaceful. And then that infinite self is right there. And that's the experience of this tremendous joy.
In other words, it's not the object, again, that brings this out. It's the quieting of the mind to let actually the being come through a little more. That really is the love experience, isn't it?
Yes.
More than the object. We say it's the object that we love,
But it's actually what you say.
but it's
Yeah. So
actually
you're taking it right from the top now.
the shine coming through.
What Harry is saying is that we take our infinite beingness, our infinite joy, and we cover it over with thoughts. We take the natural state, which is unlimited. We cover it up with thoughts of limitation. The thoughts smother this infinite self that we are. It smothers the capacity to enjoy. And so all we need to do is to quiet the thoughts, or rid ourselves of all thoughts, and what's left over is the infinite, glorious being that we are. Which is our natural state. That's not odd? That's our natural state. That's the way we were. That's the way we're going to be. We are actually that now, but we don't see it. This infinite, glorious being that we are, being absolutely perfect, can never change. It's always there. We just don't look at it. We look away from it. We look far away from it. What we should do is turn our mind inward and begin looking at it. And the more we look at it, with a capital I, the more we see it. Everything seems to point to the same direction, doesn't it? That happens as we get more understanding of what life and the universe is. But everything fits together more and more until it gets simpler and simpler, until there's just one absolute simple called God. God is simple, everything else is complex. The greater the complexity, the further we are from God. That's why God is one and only one, or one without a second. Have I covered the subject of love?
In practice, then if someone else has a heartfelt desire, and our heart, I'm going to use that word, but that same feeling, and there's a feeling if I went along with him, I might lose something, then that isn't love. But if it was complete in the sense that whatever they wish, I wish, because their feeling must be my feeling, is only one feeling. And I wouldn't be afraid, but if I was afraid,
There's a word for it today called togetherness. It's a very good word. Doesn't that fit what you're saying? Togetherness. Together we see one and the same thing and want the same thing. Is that
seems a little weak in a sense to me.
But that's the word that's being used. I think we'd be better off if we dropped the word love and use words like togetherness, oneness.
Like Bob was saying, though, thought it occurred to me that when you're trying to align your interest with another interest, I have the attitude that I know that my being this, in other words, I feel that I'm lined up. I can't get hurt. So therefore, how can anybody else hurt me? So therefore, I want the other person to have what they want also, because again, this mutuality thing, I know that I can't get hurt, therefore I know that I must extend the same privilege. It isn't a thing that I have to line up mutually here, or same ideas, or align myself with anybody. I just know that I'm on the track, that I'm all right, and that everything else, then nothing can hurt me, regardless of what other attitudes there are.
That's true.
So then, you just accept, you love, or you accept all situations or everybody, because it has to be good for them. It can only be good for you, regardless of what happens.
It's impossible to be hurt when we love fully. We are never hurt when we love. We only feel wonderful when we love. In fact, we feel the greatest when we love.
If we have a feeling differentiating though, more, of course, in the beginning you might practice, you say practice in your home, but if you feel a sense of togetherness with one more than another, then you're beginning to separate oneself.
It's not full love, it's partial love. And the more partial it is, the less good it feels. When we love all the time, we love every being, we have nothing but a tremendously wonderful, warm attitude of everything is fine, every person is just right. We wear rose-colored glasses. That's the way we see the world when we love. When we hate, we see the same world in just the opposite way. So it's a tremendous thing to learn this little secret of the power of love. Just wondering if I shouldn't read off some of the definitions in the book. There's so many ways it's been said.
Didn't bring mine tonight.
Notice how well thumbed it is. Well thumbed. It's like you drove over with a truck.
I read it every day. I keep it in my purse.
And you ain't age on it.
My gosh, there's 5 pages on it. I remember before this book came out, I said to Frances, I never know what to say on love. There isn't much you can say about it. She laughed at me. And she showed me all this. But this was gathered over many, many talks. And I can see it's an attempt to convey the concept of the real love by saying it in as many ways as possible. Well, the first one, love is a feeling of givingness with no thought of receiving any return for it. That's the one I started with. Love is giving with no strings attached. Only by loving does love come to us. The more we love, the more love comes to us. I know this is a basic error in many, many people's thinking. They go through life wanting to be loved, never feeling that they are, even when they are really getting the love. Because the feeling has to be in us. If I love you, I feel wonderful. If you love me, you feel wonderful. As you said before, it's the one who loves that feels great. So wanting to be loved is getting into a direction that can never be satisfied.
Don't you then give the love that you get back? You have to be the love that you feel.
In loving, you feel wonderful.
All right, but you seem to have an object of the love, but you're really feeling your own love that you give to the other person.
It's different concepts of the word love in different people. It might not just suit your concept, what Bob says, but I know what Bob means, and I say yes. But you'll always be right because you think that way, and thinking makes it so. Love is an attitude, a feeling, and requires no action, Paul. requires no action. It might have action. You might give away everything you have, but it's not necessarily so that you should or would give away everything. The main thing is the attitude.
Does a child love a baby?
A child loves a little more than we do, but not too much more. Because the child comes into the world with attitudes developed over the millenniums. A child is not a new thing at birth. It's the sum total of the entire past. But since the child hasn't met with the world, the cruel, cruel world yet, the child has not taken on more concepts of the opposite of love. And in that sense, a child loves more than an adult, everything else being equal. The main thing that a child wants from us is love, and we cannot fool a child. They know our feelings, and that's what they read. They don't listen to the words that we put out. We fool ourselves with the words, but we don't fool the children. But giving love to a child will develop love in that child this lifetime. Will condition the child for a very or a most happy life. But before we can love a child, we have to know what love is, develop it, and be capable of loving. That's why I've always said to mothers, if you want to help your children, help yourself. That's the very best way of helping your children. Right, Dolly? I'm looking for lies now. And you'll notice that the children understand it immediately and reciprocate. The reason why we have a hassle with children today is mainly because we don't know what love is. If we were capable of loving, instead of the conflict with children, it would be just the opposite. There would be a complete harmony between parent and child. But it's only because we have lost sight of what love is that we are in this difficulty of opposition between parent and child. There's hardly a family in which this does not exist today. It's just a matter of how little it is. Because the world as it is today is in a very confused state, knows very little of the real values that we came here for, and is lost in chasing the God, money, prestige, and so forth. Should I go on reading these things? I was just thinking you could read them yourself. Love is acceptance. Love is taking people as they are. Love is loving the other one because the other one is the way the other one is. Love is trust. When we love people, we will always trust them. You can use these things as a check upon yourself. If you don't trust someone, you don't love them. Now that's not an easy one to see. And I suggest you work that out yourself. If you don't trust someone, you don't love them. I say trust the most crooked person in the world, and that person will be honest with you. Love is a feelingness of peace. As we said before, when we love, we have no enemies. We don't have to be on guard, and we're at ease. Love is identification. It is being the other one by identifying with the other one. Love is what every being is seeking through his every act. That's a powerful one.
That's the last one there. What was the one you read about identifying?
Love is identification. It is being the other one by identifying with the other one. You feel as though the other one is you. You identify with
What I
them.
was saying before, though, if I realize my beingness, that and that know that only good can come to me, that I am in the sphere of this love and so on, then why is it necessary to identify with anybody?
If you're in that sphere, you automatically identify with everyone. It goes together.
You and your
Or are we
brother
thinking
are one.
about two levels? Am I thinking of the spiritual, and are we talking mainly here about physical bodies?
Well, when I say identify, you are me. When I know that, that's identification complete. I also know your every thought and feeling. If you are me. That's how complete the identification becomes. This actually happens.
It becomes I and my father are one, I and my brother are one, I and my sister are one.
But in practice, if Paul and I are after the same piece of real estate, for example, and we're bidding against each other, my thought would have to be, or my feeling would have to be, it doesn't really matter who gets it.
Yes.
Because
Except
after
Paul,
all, we're
Paul,
one
no,
and the same.
Paul should have it.
And we both have it. So what happens?
And you can,
Pardon?
if you say Paul should have it,
Well,
you
it's
can.
it's a mutual one-hearted feeling that if I cannot feel loss, if he gets it, he could not feel loss if I got it.
You should enjoy his getting it.
True, or he would enjoy my getting it.
Right.
So it wouldn't matter any more than if two people who, in a sense of young lovers, wanted something, they both want it. Be almost the same sensation. If the other one gets it, they're joy. Isn't that true?
Right.
Whatever we do, with whomever we are, or even if our enemy gets it, we should have that joy. But who's our enemy then?
It's a very good question.
You just lost
If you love your enemy, you have no more enemies.
Well, I've made it a practice now that when any of my friends or any broker that I know, anybody else comes and tells me of a terrific deal they've made, I always grab for their hand and shake it and tell them how happy I am that they did it, regardless of where it was or if it was something that I was trying to buy for a client or anything else. I always tell them, and believe me, the surprised looks that I get show me the success that I'm having with a lot of these people. I mean, they're telling it to me for one reason, but I feel real joy at their having had good fortune because I feel that I'm gaining something too.
The power and effect of love is obvious. Just try it. Apply it. Like you're doing on that, on other things. The effect is obvious. It's a very powerful thing.
You know, I think the point is real good, accepting people as they are and not by any virtue or anything. It just has always been something that's been fairly easy for me to do. So I don't figure I just figure it's part of me, and work to attain it. But I guess the question that I have, where I'm more cognizant of almost daily, is what happens when these people have an effect on your life that, to your way of thinking or your concept, affects you adversely. Isn't there room here for constructive criticism or pointing out the truth as you see it and still accepting them as they are? This is something I just the last few weeks I've done a great deal of thinking about. Is that I think in the past is that I've accepted people for what they are. Or I'd say, well, as a human being, if I was raised like he was and thought like he did, I'd do exactly the same thing. But what happens, it seems like anyhow, is that I then so I guess I would say I tolerate them perhaps more than accept them.
Right.
But I can't appreciate them when they do something that affects me in an adverse manner.
Paul, we shouldn't look upon them as human beings subject to error. If you saw the absolute truth, you'd see infinite, perfect beings. Now, I say this is the truth. Everyone's an infinite, perfect being. That when we see him otherwise, we're not seeing the truth. So you see what it does to your concept. I say you're looking at them wrongly, and you'll be hurt because of that.
But what happens if you see them as a perfect being, and perfect in their own right and so forth, and yet something happens that, by appearances, anyhow,
By appearances, yeah.
looks like it's affecting you or your family or might be adversely. Then what do you have to say then? I'm just not seeing right, huh?
Change your view. Change your thought. Change something in you, and it'll change out there immediately.
Change your concept first.
If you don't like the world out there, you must change yourself. And immediately the world rightens. Gets the way we want it to be.
Well, doesn't this mean, though, that if you carry this attitude right on through, not just to this person, but to this country or the whole world and so forth, that this world would never change? In other words, isn't all the progress, or so-called progress, because progress is whatever you think progress is, I guess. But isn't all the so-called progress brought about by dissatisfaction with people or situations as they exist?
No, just the opposite. Dissatisfaction throws a monkey wrench into the works. When there's love, progress is the very greatest. I just read one here that love is what every being is seeking through his every act. If you will trace through all your behavior, or the behavior of people, what are they looking for? They're looking for love. That's the ultimate. That is the greatest of all progress, is love. Our life is getting far too complex. And it's not progress because people are not happier today. I think that's the proof. Their happiness. They have things like they've never had it before. And look at the mess we're in today, or don't you see it?
No, I guess again it depends on how you look at it. No, I don't think. I think. I guess that's the way I have to live. I think things are better than ever. I mean, the world as a whole. And so forth. I guess because I think that there is less pain in the world today. From a medical standpoint, we'll say there's probably more, I suppose, mental pain.
Yeah, the greatest pain is mental. There's more anxiety and dissatisfaction today than there ever was.
Well, I think that's
in our time.
Right, but I just by my own thinking, I don't figure I'm any expert in, but I just think that that's because of an unwillingness to adjust, to a new acceptance, you might say.
Okay, I say it's lack of love. Well, I could put it another way. It's not that we have less love today as much as it is we were so busily occupied in trying to make a living, we didn't have time to be with ourselves. Now we have time to be with ourselves. 30 years ago we thought, oh, if we only had things we would be happy, and we were striving very hard to get things. Now we've gotten the things, and instead of being happy, we find ourselves less happy, which is good, because our next big lesson is to learn that happiness is not in things. It'll go more toward principle in the near future. But we're coming down now to a dangerous point of getting away from the absolute truth by accepting some of the things of the world as they really shouldn't be accepted by us. We should see the perfection where the seeming imperfection seems to be, because we are aiming for the very top. I know I'm not satisfying you very much, Paul, am I?
Well, I'm one of these
I mean,
persons that when I hear something, I just I don't form any opinion. I just kind of try to let it soak in, and you know.
It's something I can't give to you.
I realize.
I can make words,
Yeah.
and you have to do something with them. And if you see, I say, if you see what I see, then you'll see it. If you don't, well, work with it. Maybe someday you will. But you got a good base to work from. As you said before, it was easy for you